So this is the Luke 10 R&D team, research and development. We meet every week. Good friends Tony Daniels, Kent Larson, Kent Smith, and myself. And we're going to try on a regular basis to identify a story that comes up in the midst of our meeting that we would like to share with other folks in the Luke 10 community. So Kent Larson has a great story of something God's doing in his world. So Kent, you're on.
Well, great. Well, I've been involved with Luke 10 for a bunch of years here now, and just enjoying the power of multiplying connection with Jesus and connection with one another's hearts. And one of the tools that we've learned over the last couple of years is what's called Immanuel Approach to connecting with Jesus. And partly it started as healing trauma, but it's also expanded of the understanding of an intimate dialogue with Jesus. And my wife and myself recently did a seminar online with a ministry in West Congo, and it was a wonderful experience where we spent about 3 hours just teaching about this dialogue process and this healing process to one of the most traumatic places in the world, just a high trauma dynamic. It's the rape capital of the world. There's just lots of history of tribal warfare and all kinds of dynamics there. And so they were really interested in learning this process of connection with Jesus to heal trauma. So we did it on last Saturday, actually, and presented a very simple process of just a 3-step process of connecting with Jesus, seeing him and seeing how he would respond, starting from a joyful place and then processing pain and then coming back to a joyful place. And one of the things that we did was a live demonstration where my wife did what we call an Immanuel prayer on me. And it turned out to be very powerful for me personally, but also for the 15 or so leaders there in Congo that were watching it on the internet, and the other 10 or so that were here. So the way it started is she led me just ask Jesus for a moment of joy in the past, and the Lord reminded me of an encounter I'd had years ago where the joy of the Lord had come on me in a very powerful way in a conference here in Southern California under the ministry of John Wimber. And I just got reconnected with Jesus there in that moment. And he just was pouring out his delight in me, telling me how he was anointing me with his joy to take to the nations. Actually, he defined that experience in a new way as I just visited that memory. And then we asked, so Lord, is there a painful memory you want to take me to and bring healing to? And he took me to a memory of one of my children who turned away from God, and how I discovered that, and it was very painful moment for me. And so we went to that memory. I see Jesus standing behind this child of mine, and saying, just was so there, and then deeply ministering to my heart and breaking shame and a sense of failure off of me that I felt in that moment as he told me what had happened. And it was definitely something shifted. A measure of peace came in my life. And so all these leaders from the Congo in a very traumatic situation are watching me tell this personal trauma story. And then my wife says, okay, so now let's finish this time up and return to the joyful place. So we went back to the joyful memory, and the measure of joy was even increased because of the burden that had just been taken off of my heart. And I saw Jesus there again. And I couldn't contain my joy. I started to laugh. And the people that were with me in the room here in California, they started to laugh. And then it poured out on the Congolese people to the point where some of them literally were falling on the floor, rolling in joy and laughter in the midst of one of the most traumatic places in the world. And it was fascinating because we had just done a question and answer where they were asking lots of questions about how in the world do you return to joy from pain. even in the present, because they're in the constant sense of that present. So it was exciting. And so the follow-up now is we're going to do really little triads, 2s and 3s, where we're going to take these leaders and walk through connection with them and teach them more deeply how to do this process. And hopefully it's going to pour out into this whole movement, which is a massive movement in Congo, with a whole lot of men and women that have been in great trouble. So I was excited. I felt like we were able to extend the kingdom and bring real connection with Jesus and with each other, heart to heart. So that's my story.
Wow, that's a great story. Tony and Kent, do you have like a one reflection on what you just heard from Kent Larson? Anything you'd like to just reflect on that?
Well, the thing that strikes me, Kent, is whether people are in the Congo or they're in our crazy, distracted, and very broken first world context here in the developed world, that the brokenness that people are experiencing in our time is so profound, and it's such amazing good news to be reminded that wherever we are, Jesus is present and available to bring the healing that we need. And so I'm just really excited that through the work that you and Kathy are doing, and through the work that we're all doing in Luke 10, that this is becoming more and more available to other people across our context.
I just wonder if there's anyone in our Luke 10 leaders that would like to do this type of training, and if there's any way we could offer it in the next year. So that's what I'm working on, my notes going on here. Kent, thank you so much for what you and Kathy are doing, and it's invaluable, really amazing.
Two quick thoughts. One is, I have no doubt that Kent and Kathy will be doing a workshop on Immanuel Approach and Immanuel Healing at the Luke 10 Leader Team Conference. So that's one place that you can get some training on that. And then secondly, just this idea that the whole Luke 10 community and the Immanuel Approach is going viral and spreading around the world. Pretty amazing. So thanks, you guys. So we'll keep sharing these things as we have our meetings, because we want the rest of the leader team to know what's going on. So thanks.